Have you always felt that you were not confident, or is it something which has suddenly come up?
I've always considered myself as someone who is underdog. I always seen successful people in my world doing something great, and I compare them to the current condition that I am in.
So all the things that you had self-doubt about, it seems as though you've been achieving.
But at that point, I'm looking forward to 2 years from now. Me in 2 years, can I do that? And that process limits me during that phase. So if you ask me now, are you confident? I would say I'm comparing myself to 2 years from now.
What are your goals for 2 years?
I wanted to create content to bring awareness to expats in Denmark, internationals in Denmark. And I wanted to be that 1% of the content creators who does content creation in Denmark for internationals. I made my story about my parents moving to Denmark in Instagram. That one picture was not even edited properly. It was a random picture, but that picture went viral because a lot of people could associate that picture with their own version.
Yes.
Can you imagine 1,340 people reacted, 100,000 impressions in less than a week?
But normally when something bad happens, you have to get up again and try again. You have to find out, why do you have a challenge with confidence? We as human beings would never have survived if everybody was super confident and went out running after the saber-toothed tigers and thought we could eat them. So it's a mixture of understanding a little bit about yourself and understanding that how you can use the skills that you have as a strength.
In today's episode, I will be interviewing Stephen Burrell. Stephen Burrell is a high-performance coach and diversity, equity and inclusion specialist based in Denmark. With over 20 years of leadership experience in roles such as sales and marketing director, brand manager and senior project manager, transitioning from elite footballer to coach, he focuses on unlocking the potential of individuals and teams through meaningful human-to-human communication and relationship building. In addition to coaching work, Stephen serves as a Vice President of Brotherhood of Professionals of Color, an NGO dedicated to empowering, inspiring and connecting professionals of color in Denmark and beyond. Finally.
Yes. Yeah, good evening.
Yeah. Thank you, Stephen, for joining me once again. To the audiences listening or watching this podcast, me and Stephen had a conversation earlier. Unfortunately, I couldn't bring the video version, but Stephen promised me that he will do yet another conversation from a different perspective. So, but whatever happened past, I guess this is a wonderful opportunity to have a good conversation with you, Stephen. Thank you so much for coming again.
Thank you for the invitation, and I'm sorry about your technical issues, but I'm sure everything will be fine in the end. We spoke about today, and without having any notes or any sort of thought on any sort of previous conversation, we thought we'd just take it as it goes.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you, if you were to think about me and my background, thinking predominantly from my coaching background, and you want to set a goal for our session, the next 30 minutes, next 40 minutes, how long it's going to be, what would that goal be?
Goal for me?
Yes.
So I have to honestly admit that the very reason why I started doing podcast is to become more aware of my responsibilities, roles and opportunities as an international in Denmark. And the goal with you, the goal that I want to set with you is, I want to be more confident. I possess a lot of skills. I'm aware about certain things, but I still believe that I could be a bit more confident in the way I approach anything in life. And I stop seeing the actual potential that I have, the real potential that I can become. And a lot of people point out, but I don't really understand or feel inside me. There is something that is stopping me, and I wanted to discover, but basically that is my goal, to become a better version
of yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, confidence is an interesting word. So if you were to say that by the end of this session, you'd like to think that you've become a little bit more aware of how you could become a little bit more confident. Would you say that's the goal for today?
Yep, let's do that.
Okay, it's great. Okay, let's go with that. Okay, so may I ask the question then, have you always felt that you were not confident, or is it something which has suddenly come up?
If I have to rewind in my past, I've always considered myself as someone who is underdog.
Okay.
And the reason why I believed that, or why I think that way is because I always seen successful people in my world doing something great, and I compare them to the current condition that I am in. And this goes back to my days in engineering, when I did engineering in Indian University. And I see for my success in the university is to get a good job. And I see 2 years ago, 2 years ahead of me, how can I get an university? How can I pass the university? How can I get the placement? And how can I get a good salary? So that belief always pulls me down. Either I'm, I would say, putting in a lot of stress that I could sense that I'm adding in. And I also don't perform. Like, say, for example, I don't have skills to communicate with people. And I always seem to think like, maybe I'm not there yet. Maybe I should. But I'm not doing any action. But I feel that is pulling me down. So I believe I always associate that with my confidence. I say I'm not confident enough to go there and do that.
But it's quite interesting you're saying that, because when I listened to your story that you went to university,
Yeah.
and you graduated,
Yes.
and you got yourself a good job. So all the things that you had self-doubt about, it seems as though you've been achieving.
But at that point, I'm looking forward to 2 years from now. Me in 2 years, can I do that? And that process limits me during that phase. So if you ask me now, are you confident? I would say I'm comparing myself to 2 years from now. And that feeling is like, So if I don't know if I answered your question, but
Well, I don't think you have, but it's more about, for me, maybe I've got to rephrase the question. My question was based around that you have achieved all the goals that you set to get to university, to get yourself a good job, to take you away from India to Copenhagen.
Yeah.
So I don't quite understand what you're trying to say when you say that you're not confident. So maybe you have to explain it a little bit more. I mean, if you're saying that you set a goal and you reach it, but you're struggling to set the goal, is that where the question is?
I'm struggling to set the goal. I'm struggling to believe in me.
Okay.
I always self-doubt a
Yes.
lot.
Yes.
And I compare. Which I don't know, some people say don't compare yourself with others, but it's easy for them to say. But for me, I have to have some sort of, let's say, reference to where I should go. But then that definition or me in 2 years limits me in saying, okay, that is, maybe he has done that because he has this. I don't have that. And that belief limits me.
Well, if you were to look at it from the other way, look at it from to say, or maybe I should ask a question, what are your goals for 2 years?
So 2 years from now,
Yes.
and this is again a personal goal, I wanted to create content to bring awareness to expats in Denmark, internationals in Denmark, and I wanted to be that 1% of the content creators who does content creation in Denmark for internationals. That's my personal goal. Professionally, I'm doing a good job. I'm a part of this Novo Nordisk engineering company, and I'm doing risk management. I wanted to be more, I would say, into developing frameworks on how to do risk management. And these are two different things, but I'm focused towards those two elements in different phases. Yeah.
So your personal goal is to actually do what you're doing now on a
Yes.
bigger scale.
Yes.
And then your professional goal with work is to continue what you're doing, but to build a little bit up, to get a little bit more, I would say, elevation.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think it's doable, but I feel like right now, if you ask me, I feel like it's a mountainous task. Like I need to go there, but I'm nowhere. And I compare with content creators right now in Denmark who are like 50,000, 40,000, some even 100,000. I say, I'm just having numbers with 1,000, not even 1,000 in Instagram or something. I'm comparing with the metrics here.
But it's a good way, because I was going to ask you what was your key performance indicators.
Yeah.
But it's the metrics of followers. That's what
Yes,
you look at.
Exactly.
Okay, but there are many ways you can get followers.
How?
Well, I mean, it's not for me to say, but there are. I mean, there's ways which are doing it organically, like you're trying to do, and there's way we could do it via paid media.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a case of which do you want? I mean, do you want it to be organic, or would you like it to be via paid?
Funny thing, I actually tried the paid version because organic was not reaching. This
Yes.
happened a year ago. and the paid version was even worse than the organic version. I'll tell you why. Because I realized my story was not authentic when I went into the paid mode.
Okay.
But those videos that performed well wasn't really meant for actually going viral. For example, I made my story about my parents moving to Denmark in Instagram.
Yes.
That one picture was not even edited properly. It was a random picture that my friend took. It was for a memory.
Yes.
But that picture went viral because a lot of people could associate that picture with their own version,
Yes.
which I never thought when I uploaded it. But I had some contents that were intentionally made to build, virality or whatever you put some metrics. Those were not performing. So I was like, maybe some do, they know the strategy. I don't know the strategy. I just limit myself. And then I went into the paid mode. It became even worse. And I said, okay, no, I want to take another route now. I wanted to learn more. So I wanted to invite people who are really good with that and then start doing podcasts. That is where we are. So.
But what about if you look at it from the other perspective, which is saying that the best performing picture was the one which was not supposed to be the one that went viral.
Yeah.
But what about if you took that approach? Have you tried that?
I am still vulnerable to do that. You know why? Because the moment I actually took that picture, I was actually, that picture was so emotional for me because I never share my personal stories to anybody at that level. Those are my mom. I was not preparing for them to, hey, smile on this picture because I'm going to do this to Instagram or something. No intention whatsoever to share this on media. I got some feeling like, okay, I want to tell the world and I want to just share this picture. I found some of the pictures. Some of the pictures were like my eyes were closed.
Yes.
And I realized, okay, this is better than other pictures. Let me put this on. And I didn't even describe it. I didn't have a hashtag it. I had no support from the algorithm to actually boost that profile.
Yes.
But that picture, can you imagine 1,340 people reacted?
Yes.
100,000 impressions in less than a week.
Yes.
And a lot of people that I don't even follow, third degree connections, we call it in LinkedIn's algorithm.
Yes.
They associated that as their story. I was like, well, I was not expecting this. And I was actually a bit embarrassed because I was like, are they really doing it just so that they could get some visibility? No. A lot of comments when I started reading, they were really personal. And I felt like it worked out, but I didn't actually dive deep in. But is that what you want me to do more of, or what was your
the question is that you mentioned a bit about confidence, that you're struggling with some self-confidence, struggling with self-doubt, etc., etc. But when you have success, what do you do? Because it sounds like success to me, but you're playing it down.
Yeah.
You're putting it down rather than saying that, how can I utilize this again? How can I create another moment like this? So sometimes when you frame things in a way, like you say, with hashtags and this is going to be the hit, maybe that's not what everybody wants, your followers want.
But how do I know that what followers want?
Well, you've seen that normally when you go through metrics, you use data, and you've seen what performed best, but you haven't repeated what performed best. So in our world, we call it best practice. And I'm sure in your world, in the professional world, you do, if something works, you repeat that. But for some reason, you've chosen not to. So I'm just curious to say, why have you not chosen to do it?
Yeah. So every time when I intentionally post on something, I want it to be the best version in the photo. And I purposefully take that photos to say, I'm going to share the story, I'm going to edit this, I'm going to do Canva, a lot of post-processing before I upload. But I do it with an intention, with an expectation that this has to be in the right format. And when I started creating contents. And for some reason, I didn't associate that picture as a content strategy at all. But I actually accept the fact that best practices are taken seriously in my own day job, right? I look at the data, I get into all the risks, I run through them and say, what is the theme of risk we have? Or do we see a pattern of these risks? Do we have financial risk? Do we have management?
Yes.
Suppliers, vendors, external risk? Or is it environmental risk? I don't do that actually. Funny thing.
Well, when it comes to your personal, but in your professional, you do it every day.
Yeah.
But it's quite interesting to see that whether or not you would think about utilizing that skill in your personal, in this framework.
Yeah.
Because you can see the ones which work, or the one which work the best, is something which is not being scripted, something which is being natural. And maybe that's what your audience want. There are a lot of professionals, as you know, you see them all the time along the streets in Copenhagen. People who are quote unquote influencers with a photographer and taking pictures and editing them and taking pictures and changing clothes, and maybe your followers are not looking for that. They're looking for something which is a little bit more authentic. So maybe it's something to think about. And if you were to think about it, what would you do? What would the next piece of content be?
I've always wanted to actually do content in my own mother tongue.
Okay.
Yeah. My mom used to watch my videos. And she used to comment on me saying, I don't understand a word, but it doesn't sound like you. And I said, Mom, you're looking at it in English language. I know that we are struggling to speak in English, but I was purely judging her because she's not able to get the phrases. Because I myself, if you ask me, am I doing good in English? I have a self-doubt that I have a strong Indian accent. Number one, this is my way of thinking that I do this. And then I don't sound natural. This is how I thought in the past, okay? And when I joined Toastmasters, so I'm trying to connect. Am I authentic in when the way I tell stories? Funny, when I prepare a speech and I give speeches, they don't perform. But when I give impromptu speeches, they win. And I was not convinced. I was never convinced. I said, I went with the flow. I don't know how to measure the impromptu speech because it's impromptu. I don't plan for this. And for the whole time, the universe is trying to tell me something. I'm not actually taking it for granted. I was just taking it for granted. I said to myself, yeah, that was just pure luck. I just thought audiences went with the emotion. But if they have a logic, I don't think I said anything logical. I was just purely playing with emotions. I used to convey anything that I feel emotional. All those moving stories perform well. But I never ever connected that to a video. Because in video or anything that I do on social media, everything is, this is what I want audiences to experience. And that never was the case for me. And like you said, so my mother tongue, I sound so natural. When I explain anything to anybody, they say, Arun, you are the best teacher. And I've trained people some tools back in India, back in Chennai. And both my parents are teachers. So I think I have them in my gene. But if I have to switch to a language like English, I have to process.
Well, you're doing very well now, just to say that. So, of course, is that if it's a lack of self-confidence, I can understand that you may have that. But if you say that you've just made a very nice speech to me in English, it's unscripted. I understood every word, and all your audience will understand every word as well in English. So I don't think that what you are saying, the way you are seeing yourself, is the way we are seeing you. So perhaps you have, for some reason, you have a little bit of self-doubt about what you're doing.
Is it because I'm actually putting too much weight on the metrics? Like I wanted to do this, otherwise, because I actually set goals. For example, if I make a video, I want the video to perform well. Is it pulling me down if not performing?
Well, there are. I mean, of course, is that I don't. If I take off a cap and say to myself that, okay, I go into advising now and say that there's certain things you can control and certain things you can't control, and it seems obvious to me that when things are going well, you don't trust that it's you what's doing it.
That is so true. I second that. I would say, I was like, are we sure that am I the one who's doing it? I'm surprised all the time when I do something.
And that says to me that maybe there is something deeper here, which the self-doubt comes from perhaps a bad experience. But there's nothing in what you've said today so far which says to me that you don't have the capacity or the skill set to make things work, either professionally or personally, on this platform. So there is something about you, and I would say there's nothing wrong with having self-doubt. We all have self-doubt. We have what we call in English a crisis of confidence.
Crisis of confidence. Okay.
Yeah. So everybody has that. But it's about how do you utilize it. if you could use it as a strength, because if you mentioned that you were putting up goals for yourself when it comes to videos, for example, but you can't control that. You can't control that how many people to watch it. You can't control. I mean, there's many things that you can't control. One is that whether or not other people see it the way you see it. And how does that make you feel? When you realize that you're not in control?
If I see that happening to me, I usually feel like a failure.
Okay.
Meaning, yeah. So I see it as some sort of a sign that I'm doing good. If not, then I consider myself or that endeavor to be a failure, and I don't want to fail. And that goes with throughout my career. It started with, of course, setting up high expectations for me in my education.
Yes.
Even though I didn't fare well, I was a pretty average student.
Yes.
And then when I joined my company, within a year, I quit my company and I started my own business. Failed miserably,
Yes.
lost to a certain sum, which is equivalent to like 35,000 Danish kroner.
Yes.
That is freaking lot of money in India.
Yes.
For a student, 1
Yes.
year from studying in university. And then I was completely off shape, 100 plus kilograms, sleeping day and then working all night and completely off shape. But then I joined this Danish company called Covi. Things changed for the better, and I got opportunity to travel to Copenhagen. But I also feel like I'm putting myself, even after coming to Denmark, I'm putting myself in the zone where now I need to perform. Otherwise, I don't know when I will leave. I don't know when people will fire me. I've always had this ticking time bomb in me that I have to do something or the other. Even in Denmark, integrating into Denmark, the last 6 years, if you ask me, every 6 years I had something to do. Every year there's an exam.
Yes.
Starting from Danish exam,
Yeah.
PD1,
Yes.
PD2,
Yeah.
PD3, and then Infulsratsprøven is the recent exam that I did.
Yes.
I told my friends in India, I could have taken the most difficult exam in India and fared well, or at least passed. But in Denmark, it is even more difficult because you're dealing with a full-time job.
Yes.
With minimal time for preparation, and then you expect them to pass in good scores, and it's like I can't take this anymore. I recently read this article about the proposal, a bill proposal for revising the Infulsrats not citizenship examination.
Yes.
I said, not again. To be honest, I
Yes.
was super overwhelmed, because if I have a family, am I able? And that's another thing. If I have a family, will I be able to have the same energy to do this? And I don't know if I will be in the stress, or these are things that I'm populating myself. I don't know.
Well, yeah, but of course, when you're going into the future, then it's difficult to read what's going to happen in the future. That's the first, because of course you have to have the partner. Then you have to have. I mean, you have to have, and then what sort of woman is she? Will she be willing to allow you to keep pursuing your ambitions? But if you go back to saying that you being an immigrant from India and being in Denmark and having this thing what says you have to overperform, I think it's very, very normal for migrants in countries to say to themselves that they have to overperform. I don't know how it is for you with regards of sending money home. Have you got a responsibility there as well?
My parents are not well off, but
Yes.
then they don't entirely depend on me. But
No.
I have the obligation, because I know my upbringing.
Yes.
My parents spend their fortune just to get me and my younger
Yes.
sister get educated.
Yes.
And I'm forever grateful for that. It doesn't
Yes.
mean that they ask me,
No.
but it's my duty and responsibility to do that.
Well,
and
that's
I
the
do
thing.
that.
Yeah. I mean, I've come from a Jamaican family. My parents are Jamaican, or were Jamaican, or are, because they're no longer with us. So I don't know how to give its past tense. To be honest, it's a relatively new thing. But anyway, but they always sent money home. I mean, they for them it was their duty, as you say, responsibility to send once you went overseas. For us in Europe, it's not the sort of thing that we do. I've never sent money to my parents. In fact, they've sent money to me. So it's a different thing.
Okay.
But it's cultural, I guess. Yeah, it's a cultural thing. But that responsibility for you to pay back or give back is one thing. But there is a lot riding on the fact that you being here and having a job. There's a lot of factors which say that there's a lot of responsibility. So I understand the self-doubt there. But the confidence thing is to say that this a bit I struggle with a little bit with what you're saying, because you are successful.
I still don't convince myself, and I'll tell you why. It's because there are two incidents that happened that constantly validates me that I'm not there yet. One is relationships.
Yes.
I consider being brown is a very difficult. I would say being brown in Denmark is actually not that cool. Especially with my that's a reaction I should give myself. I say because I tried to date people in Denmark, and I was utterly had bad experiences because probably because I don't get enough swipes.
Okay.
And that is a metrics again. We're going with metrics.
We're back into the metrics,
Yes.
and not feeling good enough. Yeah.
And it's so mentally draining.
Yes.
And then this happened more than 2 years ago. But then I dropped apps. But then during that phase, I realized, am I not being liked? Or because back in India, I'm 5 feet 11 inches.
Yes.
I'm considered to be a potential partner.
Yes.
And I'm super attractive to most of the Indians, female partners. But here in Denmark, I feel the opposite. I feel like I'm not the exotic person to be hanging around, so I had my own, I would say, inner doubts. This happened like for a while, and I dropped using apps. But that incident stuck to my brain. I was like always thinking, maybe I'm not. If I go on a casual evening with friends, I feel like, oh, I'm not the person they will look into, or it's probably a waste of time spending to engage or go with intentions.
Well, again, it's self-doubt and the stories you tell yourself and your belief systems are your own, and nobody else can convince you that you're wrong. But I can say, as a brown person in Denmark, I can say there is a lot of interest in brown people in Denmark.
You have to prove me wrong now.
Well, I don't. It's not about for me, but of course, I've come from. First of all, is that I came with a wife and I was married for many years, and then I've been divorced for many years as well. And I've never found it difficult to meet women in Denmark. But of course, is that I think the difference between yourself and myself is that I'm not scared of failure. So if I say something to a female, 99.999% of the time, anywhere in the world, they've responded positively, where it may sound like you have not had that experience. So I guess you've had some form of, something's hit you confident. You mentioned the bad experience with a woman here. And I don't know what happened, and I don't know if you want to go into any detail about it. But normally when something bad happens, as a father, I say that you have to get up again and try again. That's the father advice. If my child fell, you cuddle, you support, and you say, come again. And I think sometimes when you've had a bad experience, it's, especially when you're young, it's important to try again. And I don't know where you go to try and meet people where you've got bad experiences, but we live in the part of the world, in this part of the world, Gentofte, where we are at present. There's a lot of international people who have travelled, who've been around. There are, I don't know, again, because I'm not in that scene, in the dating scene, so I don't know where people go, where you should go or where you shouldn't go. But you seem to be a young man, attractive young man. So look, ladies, come on. And Danish women, Arun's available. He's single.
I absolutely never thought nor imagined getting to this place of inviting guests to my home for a podcast. And here I am. It's a dream where I feel like I'm just getting started. If you enjoy what we do here, please join by hitting that subscribe button. Here's a promise I'm going to make to you. I will do everything in my power to make this show as valuable as possible. Thank you so much. Back to the episode. Okay, we were talking about Arun is available.
Yeah, Arun's available, but it's more about is that you have a belief system that says, or you think that Danish women don't find brown people attractive. So you have to say to yourself, because it's always the difference is looking at that, because of course there's lots of Danish women who do find brown people attractive. It's just a case of you finding out where they are and where should you go. Now, I don't know where you go. Where do you go? Tell me where you go.
So I'll go 2 years ago. I used to intentionally go for a pub or a bar, this is how my colleagues suggested me
Yes.
to find a potential partner or someone to hang out with. And I go in, let's say there's a place called Irish Pub. That's the first thing that I did, going to Irish Pub. And then there's also a lot of these Friday bars in my company.
Yes.
So what happens is usually after Friday bar, we hop on to other bars.
Okay.
That doesn't necessarily mean that I have to drink in the bar, but it took me many years to actually go to a Friday bar.
Yes.
Because I've considered myself, I'm an extrovert person, but I felt super introvert, and going to a bar and introducing with a group of girls around, and that part of world that I come from, I've considered white is always right, and that fair is always beautiful.
Yes.
And this goes back to my days in Kovi, where I used to work with a Danish girl.
Yes.
She comes with I would say she comes with a wealth of knowledge, but she's not the best in terms of knowledge.
Yes.
But it is hard for me to accept the fact that my own fellow Indians are smarter, but I don't accept that. I accept that that she should be better. This preconceived notion that I had also carried away even when I came to Denmark. So I felt like I'm surrounded with intelligent Danish people who are beautiful, and also fairness. Like in all respect, I felt like I'm not worth it, or I'm not on par with them, or not better than them. So this is the thing that I carry. It was a huge baggage that I was carrying. Of course, I come with some, I would say, knowledge. That is why they hired me in Denmark. I know certain element, but I'm not confident to expose myself and say it. Probably, yeah. So I used to behave this way. That also showed up in going to introduce a girl, and then or being normal as I usually do when I work. It was harder. So when I go to pubs, I behave differently. When I go to all the social events, I behave differently. I can't. I want a partner in life. I wanted to have kids, and my goals and aspirations revolve around family. I can't be solo. And in search of partners in pubs, I realized that it was not the best place, because either it is a very unhealthy practice to stay late and wake up, get wasted for the entire Saturday with headaches.
Yes.
And even worse is that time. I spent half day thinking that what a waste of time, what a fucking waste of time. This is how I usually think. It's not like every Saturday. It's like those random days where we had company events or something, and then I used that opportunity to stay late, and I still cannot accept the fact that it happened. But I started focusing my attention towards something that I like doing, playing badminton.
Yes.
Going to Toastmasters. Because after the separation, when I went to all these Toastmasters, I built meaningful relationships. But the unfortunate thing is that people who come there are all married people. And I can't find the right person because the forum is good, but then there was, let's say, there is no single woman out there to find, or...
Well, it's a lot to unpack there. But if we go from the Toastmasters, and again, I take off the cap and become an advisor here. The advice would be, when you're surrounded by nice people, which Toastmasters are nice people, they tend to be people are open, they're non-judgmental. Surely they have friends. I mean, and there's other things as a criteria, because when you mention like all the way through that you talk about work, do you want to be in a relationship with a colleague? So you've got there's many things to unpack. Going out, I think, is that when you go out to nightclubs or to bars or anything else, it's like a lottery. I mean, I can understand why the whole invention of online dating is so popular. I can understand it, even though I've never been involved in it. I can understand it. But the other side of it is that if you turn it around and say, what is it exactly you're looking for? Do you know what you're looking for? If she was in front of you, would you know that was her? Because there's a lot of things that you said you want to get married, you want to have children. There are a lot of people who are divorced with children already. Is that what you want? Do you want to take on somebody else's child, or do you want to have your own? So I think it's we're in January still, so we could talk about resolutions, vision boards, action plans, and habits. So I think if it was me as advisor advising Arun, I would say, Arun, think about what is it exactly you want. When people are, like, for example, you're in a period where you're not drinking, you tend to make better decisions when you are drinking, if that makes sense.
So you tend to take better decisions when you are drinking.
When you're not drinking,
When you're
not drinking,
yeah.
yeah, not drinking. Yeah,
Okay.
when it comes to relationships, it's not. But the other side of it is you shouldn't kill the moment. So if you are like you don't have strict rules of when you drink and when you don't drink, I do. So I have periods where I don't drink, regardless of who I'm with, even the party. I don't drink, but other times I do drink. You know, so but I never get drunk, if that makes sense. It's always, or very rarely, you say that. Always to a level. And I don't want to make decisions personally about females when I've had a drink. I like to go for walks. Do you like to go for walks?
Yes.
Okay, so it's like, so I'm meeting a woman at Toastmasters who is, because this is, I think, if I was to go again, so I skip everything about how to meet. This is the way I think you should meet. If you meet someone at Toastmasters who you like and you think she's nice and she thinks you're nice, etc., she must have a friend. Everyone's got a friend. And nothing beats the fact of being introduced by somebody else. Have you tried that?
Nope.
Never?
Should I ask someone or
No, but if you like the Toastmasters, I've never been, but I can imagine the people I know do go and have been involved. They seem friendly enough for you to be able to say, "I'm actually looking for a partner." Does anybody know? I mean, and not it's not everybody, but it's like 2 or 3 people you know pretty well, and you can say, like, "Do you have any friends who I should meet?" I've got a lot of my friends who say that to me all the time. Like, "Do you have any friends that I should meet?" I'm not very good at matchmaking, I have to be honest.
No, I actually changed a lot. So the metrics that you said about, or did I mention about fairness, I completely went wrong, and I realized it. It was like I started realizing that it's a no-brainer that I shouldn't be thinking this way, but I learned the hard way. So what I was looking for in my dream partner, I'm trying to manifest, is that, of course, she has to be purpose-driven,
Okay.
woman with values,
Yes.
and then willing to raise a family.
Yes.
Which means having kids is, it's not something that I can't leave that option null, and that is it.
Okay, but if you go use the 3 metrics,
Yeah.
purpose-driven,
Yeah.
ambitious,
Yeah.
and wants to have children.
Yes.
But what if she already has children?
That shouldn't be a problem as long as she's okay
To have more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
But-
then there's
and-
no
and-
sort of age requirement.
I used to be of course I had taboos before that. After my first separation, I realized a lot has been relaxed. I realized people plus or minus 5 or plus or minus 3, I would say,
Yes.
is not a big deal. And I've seen a lot of Indians also. The love marriages have increased in India, and relaxation to accepting women with older age is also
Yes.
considered normal.
Okay.
And I see this often in Denmark, that it's a very common thing. And I started to think, if she's really good, gives you good vibes,
Yes.
and having good moments, and this shouldn't be it shouldn't be something that I should concern about. So I'm educating myself to become aware and also be more liberal and relaxed. And I don't think that shouldn't stop me from saying that this is not the thing that I am against or something. So I'm relaxed,
So you're open-minded.
open-minded. That's
good. That's a good
Yeah,
start.
yeah.
But if I was when we mentioned earlier about, colleagues, would you date a colleague?
In the past I tried to reach a colleague,
Okay.
because I was not like in Danish they say kaste med første øjeblik.
Okay. Yeah.
No, and I felt
Love
like
at first sight.
love at first sight.
Yes.
But it didn't last longer because she considered me as a friend and she friend zoned me.
Okay.
And I had many such friend zoned
Yes.
history, or like 3 to 4 incidents
Yes.
that pull me down. And in forums like Toastmasters, when I come across a person that I like,
Yes.
probably a friend of my Toastmasters community, usually they have a boyfriend or something. So I didn't make a lot of attempts, but the attempts that I made was not fruitful. That's how I see it. So probably I don't know if I should increase the rate of search or
No, but it's just, it's like, I don't know how use the word urgent your need is.
Yeah.
But if your need is urgent, your colleagues or anybody who puts you quote unquote in the friend zone, they have friends. Nothing. He's not for me, but he could be for you. And this thing about meeting in real life, somebody who knows you in real life can be the best person to advocate for you to somebody else. And in this part of the world, in Denmark, it's very normal that people need, especially foreigners, you need a recommendation from a Dane. So if a Danish woman says to another friend or colleague that this guy Aaron's okay, maybe you should have a drink with him. That means a big thing. That's a big thing. So I think it's something you should explore. You shouldn't turn away. Friend zones or being put in a friend zone is fine, but they can help you. And your colleagues or friends from Toastmasters, it's the same. They can help you as well. And then also you've got to look at the landscape. Because the badminton club, that's one. Because predominantly, I don't know how it is. I used to play football, and Schools Hall, where I played football, they had the badminton club as well. But again, its majority is like say partners or mothers or who are picking up kids, and not to say that it can't happen. But you're more likely to be breaking up a relationship rather than making it, and that's maybe not the way you want to start.
No, I don't even consider me trying to pursue, and I think it's not ethical either.
No,
me. Yeah, because what I do is also like I believe in karma.
Yes.
And I don't want to, but I accept the fact that it is really good to have what you call conversations.
Yes.
Engaging conversations.
Yes.
You feel like, wow, what if I find exactly the similar person who is available? I wouldn't say I'm manifesting it, but I feel like I wanted someone in my life for people I really like. Yeah.
But I think there's listen to what you're saying. I think this thing about humor.
Yeah.
Because I think all my friends who are in the zone what you're in, they say it with humor.
With humor.
Yeah, but it's humor because of course is that if you say it in seriousness to a woman that I really like you and she's not available for whatever reason, but can you introduce me to a friend? You can't. It doesn't really sound so appealing. But if you said it with humor, like I would love to meet somebody like you. I mean, smile, smile, smile. I mean, it's like, do you have any friends? You know, it's like you're not unavailable, but do you have a friend? You know, if you've got a sister, I mean,
so
it's like, but it's like it's got to be in humor. It can't be done with seriousness because we're in a world which is very Me Too-y at present. So you have to do things with a little bit more humor and have permission. You know, but I think that there are. I mean, back to your initial point where you said there wasn't. Brown people are not attractive. That's not what I can see. I mean, I can see there's lots of biracial couples and children. So there is something going on.
And in my Instagram feed, it's just trending with couples who are mixed racials or people finding love in another culture.
Yes.
In general, it doesn't have to be different colors. But then I also see my own culture from Tamil.
Yes.
I come from Tamil Nadu in Chennai. Chennai place in Tamil Nadu.
Yeah. So I think it's for yourself. It's I think from today's conversation, the big learning should be ask. Don't overthink it and ask, and be charming and warm. The guy I've met is like you seem to be a warm, charming man. Ladies, he's available. So you have got a lot going for you. You have a job. You have somewhere to live. You've got a nice personality. I guess you can make food as well. So you've got all the things which I guess a woman's looking for. So the big difference is that from my experience is that of course Danish women they choose because a lot of them are quite happy to be on their own as well. It's not a society what says that you have to cohabit if that makes sense, like which it would be in coming from the third world or the global majority, as I call it, you know, that where the woman tends to be at home looking after the kids, and the man tends to be out making the money. That's not the way it is in Denmark.
It's also the landscape is changing in India, though. In developing countries, even though in the city landscape, there's a lot of people who are independent.
Yes,
that includes my own sister, younger sister.
Okay.
She moved out. She found a job, and then she's also supporting my family. So.
Yes.
But that belief system...
She lives alone?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
It's not that common.
No.
But a lot of young women these days, they are... of course, they are looking Western old and say, let me take this piece and then use it in my own world. And developing countries in cities, they also have huge influence on Western ideologies.
Fantastic.
And that's good in many ways.
Yes.
Like she's able to earn her own living.
Yes.
And she's able to finance herself. But she also look up to me and say, I know I need to also be like my brother. My sister is also like, we inspire each other.
Yes.
I see a different side of her.
Yes.
Of course, we have a lot of sibling fights or stuff,
Yes,
but
yes.
at the same time, I inspire her in many ways that I can't be myself that way. I've never moved out of my family. The first time I moved out was actually to Denmark, and it was actually for a mission to work for
Yes.
another organization, right? But if you ask me, I would never go out and then find my own job and settle there. That was not the plan in the initial days, though.
No.
Yeah. So after having this short little discussion, I believe if I have to take away something, to go and ask, is that what you do? But you also send a message to say the goal for this year. So what do you have any plan or that you could suggest, or what could I do?
Well, I would definitely say you should definitely look at a mood board.
Mood board.
A mood board, yeah. Just think about all the things, and I don't know if you use magazines. I can see lots of books, but I don't see magazines.
No.
Then maybe you should be from the internet. Go and look and say to yourself, what do you want to do? Like, what are your plans? Is now month one is over. If you look at romantic love, and we only talk about that because I think that the personal, when we talk about the content creation for your website, that's going well, and your career seems to be going well. So look at it. Your big goal for this year is to find a romantic partner.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you list out some things that you think that is important for you in a woman. I mean, you mentioned before that she should be ambitious and she should be fair-skinned and she should be willing to have a child. And you got your criteria. And then you look at yourself and say, what have you got to offer? And why would somebody... And then the big question would be, where do you meet somebody like that? Because, of course, is that in all the Disney programs, you've ever watched Disney films, you maybe have to kiss many frogs before you meet the princess. So it's about trial and error. You know, it's not... Sometimes everybody gets stuck on this is the one, and maybe it's the one to teach you how you can find the one. And if she is the one and she's a keeper, then you do all what you can to keep her. But don't be afraid of meeting somebody. That would be my advice for you from this conversation.
Yeah. And I think that also sums it up well, because what started as conversation in the first episode between you and me about knowing you and what you do in Denmark and your journey, that the second half is just focusing on you giving a coaching session for me. And
well, it's more advice, I'd say, than coaching. If it's coaching, it'd be much more you making and finding the answers yourself. This is much more around where I'm giving you advice and giving you tips, because I think that maybe this is what you need. If you were interested in doing a coaching session, then we should do that. Then it'd be a little different, and we can use your confidence or lack of confidence as a power. So that is something that we can work on. But we started one way and we ended another way. But it's something to look at.
But based on how many people you have had coaching in the past, are all people coming from a different country, or is it also local? So you coach?
I have a mixture. I mean, I have the leaders. I try and work with leaders here, but also executives like yourself. And then I've got BPOC, the Brotherhood for Professionals of Colour, where I have one or two of them which are pro bono. But yeah, it depends. There's no, I mean, everything's confidential.
Of course.
So that's the thing. So that's why we kind of changed the topics here, because it's been on film. So normally whatever we say, what I say to you, you say to me, is between us. If you want to tell people that I am your coach, you can, but I never tell anybody that I coach you. So it's a very silent thing for me. So yeah, but then when we talk about, they're from different, you don't, as a coach, you don't necessarily have to know, I'm coaching the person, not the problem, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it's always about, like, you have a problem, then I can help you with your problem. But I don't help with the problem, I help you with you.
And do you work with the mindset of these people, or is it just because I have a different perception about coaching, right? I think like, okay, maybe what do I get in return from coaching? I also think like, is it something that I have to do with my mindset, or is it something to do with lack of skill or something?
No. Coaching is about saying to yourself is that you have, for example, use that you have something of confidence, And the only way you have to find out why do you have a challenge with confidence. I mean, and maybe through coaching you can realize that this challenge you think you have with confidence is a strength rather than a hindrance. So it's about reframing and how you can reframe it to use it as a strength. There's nothing wrong with being in doubt. Nothing. I mean, we as human beings would never have survived if everybody was super confident and went out running after the saber-toothed tigers and thought we could eat them. So it's a mixture of understanding a little bit about yourself and understanding that how you can use the skills that you have as a strength rather than, but it's something to be discovered. It's not something you can do over one session. Something needs to be done over a period of time. But I've reached out to your colleague, as I promised to do. I've already done it. I've written to her. She hasn't replied. It was only on Friday, I think I wrote to her. So I'll give her a little bit of time before I try and call her to find out if she was interested in having the conversation. But I think that there is a possibility that you should look into that. I mean, of going into it, because you'll be able to find a little bit more understanding about your belief systems. And then from there, how you can utilize... if you rephrase that belief, how you can utilize it. Yes, I can, rather than no, I can't.
Yeah. I think it was, for me at least, I have some homework to do now. And like you said, I'm going to first reach out to people I know.
Yes.
And
In
ask
a
that question.
humorous way.
Humorous way.
No Me Too's.
No, so that's the. I think it's hard, but I still want to try it out.
Yeah, sure.
And then, of course, I will, like you said, create a mood board and then set, some measurable goals and write it down what I need. It reminds me of my homework that I got from my one of my well-wisher. She's a family friend. I cried for toys.
Yes.
And then she said, whatever you want in life, just list it down. I wrote a big pile of list.
Yes.
After writing it down, at least one thing happened for sure, and that was I felt like the burden that I had in my mind offloaded to the paper.
Yes.
I never asked for it anymore, but some of them are striked out, like a bucket list. But I see where we are going there, and
it's a good thing. Journaling is excellent. I mean, we have on BPOC, we have in April, we're going to have around. I was going to say mental health, but that's the wrong word. It's not mental health. It's going to be around journaling and why and the benefits from journaling.
And when does this happen? April?
In April, yeah. I'm going to, towards the end. It'll be after Easter.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm very much looking forward.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. That's a good one for you to come to.
Yeah, cool.
But many thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure, Stephen.
I mean, and I look forward to... I hope that this technically is better for you.
Yeah.
So I hope that you... manage to make this work, and then reach out. I'll send you a little email with a little. I've got this emotional intelligence assessment form.
Yeah.
I can send you. You can fill it out and see where you are. And see whether or not you are worthy of coaching or not. Maybe you are perfect.
That could be a great start. Yeah,
exactly. Perfect.
Yeah, good. Thank you so much, Stephen, for this podcast. I think it was not prepared. It was super impromptu. Yeah. And I was also a little vulnerable to actually share this data, but I feel like something has... I feel a bit relaxed now.
Good. And this is what coaching does. But this is, like I said, it wasn't a coaching session. It was more of an advisory. But you can get a little taste. There's some things there. But it's, I'm happy to help wherever I can.
Sure.
Thank you for now.
Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in to Arun in Denmark podcast. Your support helps me bring more stories and insights to this wonderful international community in Denmark. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and follow for more inspiring stories. Until then, take care.